Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're heading to Texas today, specifically Mansfield, a city just outside Fort Worth. Now, if you've heard about Mansfield, you might think of its growth, maybe community parks, pretty normal stuff.
Right. But our sources, and we've got a bunch, like articles, old accounts, investigation videos, even a pretty intense online forum chat.
Yeah, that one was something.
They all point to this other side of Mansfield. It's apparently got this surprisingly spooky reputation, like quite haunted.
That's the angle. What's really interesting is how all these different sources kind of converge on this idea that the town's past isn't really well past.
Exactly. It reportedly, walks the halls, rattles windows, maybe throws stuff around sometimes.
And we're talking about historical spots, theaters, original homesteads, museums, places really soaked in local history.
Yeah. So our mission here is to take all this material, unpack it, and pull out the key insights.
We want to explore the stories, the phenomena people report at these places, understand the different takes on it, including the skeptical ones, definitely.
And just see what kind of picture emerges about this town's haunted side.
Okay, let's dig in.
So a lot of sources mention that Mansfield kind of hit the paranormal map, got wider attention, mainly because of a Ghost Adventures episode. It focused on one particular house.
Right, I saw that mentioned.
But as we looked at the other stuff, it was really clear that house was just one small piece. There's this much larger pattern reported all over town, going back decades.
And what jumps out right away is how connected these reported hauntings are to Mansfield's actual history.
Totally.
These aren't just random ghost stories.
Yeah.
They're often tied straight to historical people or, tragic events, big moments that happened right in these buildings.
It's almost like the history itself is the script for the ghost stories. Less like a general haunting and more like specific echoes.
Good way to put it.
Take the Far Best Theater. That place comes up again and again in the sources.
He does, and its history is really foundational for Mansfield, isn't it?
Yeah.
Opened way back in 1917.
Yeah, by Milton Mayfarr, key guy. The sources say he brought the town its first electricity and water. Huge deal.
Wow, okay. So the theater started with silent films, then talkies, and now it's a live stage.
That's right. And running alongside that history are these persistent reports of weird stuff happening.
Like what specifically?
Well, lights turning on and off on their own, objects apparently being tossed from the balcony,
Tossed.
shadow figures seen on the stairs, disembodied voices, and it's not just like once in a blue moon. Staff and investigators describe it as pretty frequent.
Any specific characters, so to speak?
Yeah, there's the ghost of McDougal. He's supposedly connected to this old Scottish pub bar from 1851.
Wait, a bar from 1851 in the theater?
Yeah, they brought it in and use it as the concession stand now. And McDougal apparently likes to mess with the technicians, makes their lights or flashlights die, stuff like that. One report even mentioned a light fixture falling.
Huh. Trixie. Anyone else?
Other names pop up. Mrs. Packer's story is tragic, we'll get to that. A mysterious drummer, maybe from the vaudeville era.
Big Censor Theater.
Milton Farr himself, the founder. And some investigators felt there might be something darker there too, though that's more vague.
Right, and when investigators went in, what did the sources say they found?
Some interesting stuff. They reportedly used EMF detectors, those things that measure electromagnetic fields, looking for weird energy spikes.
Standard tool.
And they apparently got what they called intelligent answers through the readings, like fluctuations responding to questions, and even rhythmic spikes that sounded like drumming.
Drumming, okay, that connects to the drummer maybe.
Could be. Other reports mention capturing a figure in a low-light photo near the stage, finding a seat flip down after they know they left it up.
Little things, but creepy.
Yeah, and devices measuring electromagnetism showing energy spikes in certain empty seats. They also mention capturing growls on audio, and in a later visit, a light anomaly seen moving in the balcony.
So a mix of visual, audio, and instrument readings. It sounds like the history, the old bar, the sheer number of people. It all feeds into it.
It really does. The artifacts, the building's purpose, the reported phenomena, they seem connected. Now let's shift to another really core piece of Mansfield history. The Mann House Museum.
Ah, yes.
Right.
The original homestead. Built by Ralph Mann, right? One of the town founders.
That's the one. It's preserved now, stepping back into the late 1800s. And the sources strongly suggest the Mann family. Well, they never quite moved out.
Why is that? I mean, beyond just being their house.
Well, tragically, Ralph, his first wife Julia, and his second wife Sarah, plus 3 of their kids, including one daughter, also Julia, who died when she was only 5, they all died in that house.
Oh, wow. Okay, that definitely adds a layer.
Yeah. So maybe not surprising that the museum staff report a lot of activity.
Like what kind of thing?
Specific accounts, like a city grounds worker supposedly saw a woman in white in an upstairs window, got so spooked he just fled, refused to go back near the house.
Can't blame him. What else?
Reports of footsteps upstairs often described very specifically as heavy boot steps.
Boot steps. Interesting detail.
Other things too, maybe smaller but persistent. A clock key apparently getting tossed across a room, the clock itself going off when it wasn't wound.
Huh.
Checker pieces disappearing from an old set, sounds like something shutting upstairs, then footsteps right after. And Sarah Mann's rocking chair. That's often mentioned as rocking by itself.
Okay, classic creepy rocking chair. Did investigators find anything there?
They reported things too. One account talks about an EMF meter going off in an upstairs closet, no electricity nearby, and apparently it only happened when nobody had their hand near it.
Suggesting it wasn't interference from them.
Right. There was also this reported physical thing. An investigator felt this warm wave press into them, and at the same time smelled this really strong, distinct, spicy cologne that just vanished.
Whoa. Sensory stuff.
Yeah, and they reportedly caught a bright orb on camera, those light anomalies investigators sometimes see. This one apparently made a clear change in direction.
Not just dust.
That's the interpretation. They also recorded whispers, supposedly phrases like respect and are you sure?
And more physical stuff, too.
Sources mention a heavy door slamming shut upstairs on its own, the rocking chair seen moving after investigators left the room, reports of the actual floor vibrating upstairs.
Vibrating. That's intense.
And they think they captured audio of a woman's voice and maybe a child's cry.
Child's cry. That connects back to the daughter who died young.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly, several sources also mention a woman in white being seen walking through the nearby Cumberland Presbyterian Cemetery.
The same cemetery.
Yeah, leading to speculation it might be the same figure seen at the Mann House window.
It ties things together. Speaking of cemeteries and history, the Mansfield Historical Museum comes up too, right? Linked to some darker events.
It is. The museum itself is full of local artifacts, but the building's history includes 2 murders. Lawyer John Guess was shot by his nephew right on the staircase going upstairs.
On the stairs. Grim.
And Constable Robert Morrison was gunned down outside by bootleggers.
Wow. So the spirits tied to the museum are supposedly these 2 men.
Guess and Morrison, yeah. Said to haunt the museum and even parts of Main Street. The source about John Guess's murder gives this really detailed, dramatic story. Family drama, the nephew, John Lamb, having a troubled past, the trial. Lamb actually got pardoned eventually, came back to Mansfield, and then died of disease later. It's a whole saga.
Complex, dark history. And again, it fits that pattern, intense historical events leaving a reported mark.
Exactly. Now, that cemetery we mentioned, Cumberland Presbyterian.
Right, the one near the Mann House. It's a major historical burial ground for the town.
Yeah, you've got Ralph Mann buried there, Julian Field, another founder, Constable Morrison, the one shot outside the museum, and N.M. Peck. He was the husband in that murder-suicide involving the Mrs. Peck, sometimes reported at the Farbest Theater.
It all connects, and the woman in white sightings there too.
Yep, walking among the headstones at night, again potentially linking back to the Mann House.
Interesting how these figures reportedly move between locations. What about the Wallace Hall house? That was mentioned too.
Right, that's a historic Queen Anne-style home, built 1878. It's an art venue now.
Newer to the haunted scene, the sources said?
Yeah, compared to the others. But already, reports of mysterious things, footsteps, seems like it's developing its own reputation.
Another old building, more unexplained reports.
Oh, okay.
And then there's the Wright House. That one seemed to have a whole cast of characters.
It really does. Built in 1904 by John Howard Wright. Originally a grand 3-story place, columns, the works. Later it was a nursing home.
There was a fire.
Yeah, 1961. Partially burned, rebuilt, but without the top floors and the columns. It's a law office now. And the sources list 4 distinct spirits tied to its different eras.
4. Okay, who are they?
First, the German lady. She was supposedly a patient when it was a nursing home, died there. The story's pretty wild. She apparently appeared as a shadow to the owner's wife during World War II. Yeah, to tell her that her son, who was a sailor missing in action, was actually alive, which turned out to be true later.
Wow. Did investigators find anything related to her?
They reportedly got EMF responses they interpreted as being linked to the German lady and her son.
Okay, who's next?
Bessie. She apparently made a pact with a former owner, promised to sign after she died.
A pact, okay.
Her piano was moved into the house after her death, and that's where the activity is focused. When someone played it, a gas lamp on the stairs would supposedly rattle. And sometimes, just a single piano note rings out on its own.
Creepy piano. Investigation notes.
Reportedly captured a weird visual anomaly near the piano, described as a continuous snowing stream.
Snowing stream. Okay, number 3.
The original owner himself, Mr. Wright, said to still walk the halls. Investigations apparently got strong EMF readings connected to him and recorded a man's voice.
Anything specific from the voice?
Intriguingly, yes, something like, "You know us from the man house."
Whoa, linking the locations again. That's fascinating. And the last one.
The lady in the attic. This story comes from the 1966 fire. Sorry, maybe it was 61 or 66. Sources vary slightly on the fire date, but there was a fire. Bystanders reported seeing a woman screaming, trying to get out of the attic during the fire.
But she wasn't there.
Firefighters searched, found no one, no remains. The house was supposedly empty, but people swore they saw her.
Chilling. And investigations.
Reportedly captured audio that sounds like crying or whimpering. And one time, an investigator felt this sudden wave of panic, and right after they asked the spirit to use energy, an outside light apparently went out.
Wow. That's quite a collection just for one house. Original owner, nursing home patient, pact maker, fire victim.
Yeah, each tied to a different part of the building's life. It's like layers of history.
Okay, now we have to talk about the Ghost Adventures episode, Mansfield Meltdown. Because this comes up, especially in that forum discussion source.
Yeah.
And it's a different beast altogether.
Yeah. It really is. This part of the source material shifts gears, from local history and investigations to a big TV show and how the public reacted. The forum discussion talks about the episode's premise,
Which was?
focused on this Texas couple, Chelsea and Joy, who felt they were being manipulated by some kind of controlling entity, escalating poltergeist activity, and there was this theory about a possible voodoo curse.
Okay. And the forum discussion. It got pretty heated, right? Lots of different opinions.
Oh yeah, lots of debate, lots of skepticism, and we need to be really clear here. We're just reporting what was said in that forum discussion. It included some serious accusations and very different ways of interpreting what was shown. We're not taking sides, just relaying the source content neutrally.
Absolutely. Important distinction. So what were the main reactions in the forum?
A real mix. Some viewers thought, yeah, maybe there was a spirit, but not necessarily evil, maybe just stuck or something.
But others were more skeptical.
Many, many others. A lot of comments expressed strong doubts, suggesting maybe the activity was faked or at least exaggerated by one of the homeowners, Chelsea.
And it got into heavier territory too.
It did. This is where it gets sensitive. Multiple comments in the forum raised the possibility that the real issue might be related to domestic problems. They suggested one homeowner, Chelsea, might be using the haunting story to maybe excuse or cover up abusive behavior towards the other partner, Joy.
What led them to say that?
Commenters pointed to things they saw in the episode, Joy looking terrified, Chelsea interrupting her, visible damage like punched walls, things like that.
Okay. And there was a specific controversial moment.
Yes, a big one. When the homeowners hung up on the Ghost Adventures crew. This happened right after Zach Bagans asked about scratches that reportedly appeared on Chelsea's neck immediately after she'd gone into the bathroom alone.
Hung up on them. How did the forum react to that?
Very negatively, mostly. People in the discussion used terms like rage quitting, called it a classic abuser move, or suggested it was basically an admission of guilt. Again, just reporting the forum's interpretation.
Understood. Any other points from that discussion?
Yeah, people questioned the whole voodoo curse angle, with some pointing out the doll looked more like a Barbie. There were theories about possible drug use being involved, and someone claiming to be Chelsea's coworker posted a very negative description of her.
Quite the range of reactions. Was there any follow-up mentioned?
The forum noted an update in the episode where Chelsea apparently said she regretted hanging up but still wasn't comfortable talking about the bathroom incident.
And the house itself.
Sources mention it's reportedly been sold since then. It's an Edward Jones office now, apparently.
Okay. So that whole section shows a very different side. The public reaction, the intense scrutiny, the skepticism that comes with televised paranormal shows.
Exactly. And how viewers sometimes connect what they see, rightly or wrongly, to really serious, real-world issues like domestic violence. It's a stark contrast to the local legends and historical accounts.
So pulling it all together, what does this deep dive tell us about Mansfield?
Well, it definitely paints a picture of a town where history isn't just in the past. It's deeply, deeply woven into these ongoing reports of the paranormal.
Yeah, the sources consistently link the stories back to specific people, specific events, specific places, the Mann family homestead, the murders at the museum site, the different eras of the Wright House.
Right, and you see these different layers of information. You've got the long-standing local stories, the staff anecdotes,
Then the more formal investigations using equipment capturing specific things.
and finally, these modern televised investigations that stir up a whole different kind of debate and public reaction.
It really highlights how local history, especially when it involves tragedy or strong personalities, seems to fuel the paranormal folklore of a place. It builds this narrative where the past feels very much alive, or at least present.
Yeah.
Still lingering somehow.
So exploring Mansfield's haunted reputation through all these sources leaves us with some big questions, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Are these reported phenomena really echoes of that dramatic history? Is it some kind of energy left behind in these old buildings? Or is it something else entirely?
And, for a town itself, what does it actually mean when its history gets so tangled up with these kinds of stories, sometimes tragic ones? How does that shape its identity, both for locals and how the rest of the world sees it? That's definitely something to think about.